Android Faithful, your weekly source for the latest news, hardware, and apps for the world of Android.
Let's do it again. You started before I pulled you up, so we only caught the beginning of it.
Oh, I see. You're a stickler for these things. So if you're not showing me on the screen, am I not?
We can't hear you. Yeah, correct. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, I think I can.
Oh, I didn't know that.
I think I can do that though. If I remove.
It's fine. I just didn't realize that.
Yeah, that's how it is. Yeah, it's basically live or not live. So, all right. So,
okay.
Let's try that again.
Yeah, that's important.
All right. All right. Goodbye.
Hello and welcome to Android Faithful, your weekly source for the latest news, hardware, and apps for the world of Android. That last part of that intro, a little bit different than what I'm used to. I'm Jason Howell.
And I am Ron Richards.
And I'm Huyen Tue Dao.
And I'm Mishaal Rahman.
And I'm telling you, we are only 2/3 of the way through the people that are on this show with that list of people.
Goodness.
That's crazy today. How y'all doing?
Good to
So
see you.
happy to hear you do the intro.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's only your second episode. You're already doing the intro, man.
And
you're a quick learner.
Quick learner. I can't think of a better way for our last episode of 2023 than to have Jason kick us off. And
shucks.
As you mentioned, it's a packed episode. Should we welcome our first guest?
I think so.
A longtime family member of the show, Miss Florence Ion. How you doing, Flo?
Hi, everybody.
What's up, Flo? Good to see you.
Yeah,
Welcome back.
holidays.
Gizmodo, of course. Material podcast.
Mm-hmm.
Any other things that we should get right up at the top?
I can't tell you about my personal diaries.
Okay.
wow.
Maybe we don't need to know
those
that. But check out our work, Gizmodo and Material.
And then our second guest, right, Jason?
That's right. Welcoming to the show, Sean Hollister from The Verge. Sean is a good friend in the world of technology and actually in the family of our podcasting because, Sean, you are indeed actually related to Tom Merritt. So there's that.
Oh,
There is that.
Little factoid for the people who don't know. Sean, it's great to have you here tonight. Thank you for taking
Oh my
some time.
God. Thank you for having me.
Yeah. We actually have you on for a very specific reason, and then you posted another story that was really important. So we're going to talk about two today, and we have you for a certain amount of time, so we will respect your time. I think we have about 15-ish, maybe 20 at the most minutes with you. But Sean, the primary reason that we reached out to you to bring you on the show today is because not only did you write for The Verge about the big Google Epic case and Google's epic loss in that case. You were saying this in pre-show while we were getting set up, you were possibly the only journalist who was there in the courtroom every single day for this case.
Yeah,
So,
I was
bravo.
helped along by a number of veteran court reporters who welcomed me with open arms into the room. But you duck in and out for many trials, and we made a concerted effort to be there every day of this trial. And it was interesting to see who filtered it out because Tim Sweeney, Epic CEO Tim Sweeney, was also there almost every single day, all but one. And so I got to watch his expressions or lack thereof as various things were revealed on the stand.
So when you're in the room, this is always the thing that I find really interesting when I talk to journalists who have been inside the courtroom or at the event or whatever. Like I want to get a sense of kind of like the temperature of the room while you're there. Was it a tense scene? Was it pretty subdued? I mean, we were also talking in pre-show that really anyone could actually go and check these out. And maybe if you've seen a lot of Law and Order, you expect it to be fireworks and craziness, but was it really that?
Oh, well, the procedurally, it worked a little bit differently than I expected. So the plaintiffs, in this case, Epic Games, always get to go first, questioning each witness that comes up on the stand. And then Google gets their turn with whichever witness, regardless of whether it's, somebody who Epic brought up or somebody who Google brought up to help plead their case. And so what ended up happening, the dynamic of the entire trial was that Epic painted this story of good and evil, trying to, explain that Google had all these secret business deals where it was bribing different companies not to install rival app stores or blocking them with contractual arrangements. And then Google, of course, had to spend a similar amount of time trying to convince the jury that this was just business as normal. This is just how the sausage is made. We make business deals. We offer discounts to different companies, and we hope that they will put their apps in our store. All we just want is these apps to be in the Google Play Store. We want people to buy Android phones, they tried to say. And in the end, the jury did not buy that.
Which, and you pointed this out also in a article that posted just a handful of days ago for The Verge, which a lot of people have been really questioning how this case goes the way it did, so decidedly against Google for Epic, and yet Epic Games had a very similar kind of case to make against Apple, very similar kind of like destination that they were going for. Yet in that case, the outcome was, it was entirely opposite. It was entirely different. And I think a lot of people, Mishaal, you were saying in pre-show that still every day people are asking you, like, how the heck could it be so with one and not so with the other?
Yeah. Well, how could Epic have won against, how could Google have lost when Apple is the company that seems to be the obvious monopoly, right? Apple has this iron fist around the iPhone. It controls everything that goes on there, whereas Google's like, you could sideload apps from anywhere on the web. You could install a rival app store. Every Samsung phone comes with 2 app stores on the home screen. Google pointed out time and again in court. Right there on the home screen is one of the quotes. And these things are all true, but Google also wants to control Android for reasons both that us in this room might accept as good reasons. We want to make sure that security is there across the Android platform. We want to make sure all these phones get regular security updates. We don't want to see that fragmentation where we're missing out on features. But the other side of things is that internally, Google Play, the App Store, is a tremendous profit center for Google. We found out during the case that it makes maybe $12 billion in operating profit per year, with operating margins of well over 70%. It could be a Fortune 100 company all by itself. A Google executive said in a recorded video that we watched in the courtroom, that the jurors heard in the courtroom. So they had incentives to make sure that other app stores did not come up on Android, did not get popular on Android. And did they do shady things to make sure that didn't happen? Well, they did. Epic wasn't able to prove everything it set out to prove there. I didn't see much evidence that Google directly bribed any other companies the way Epic was trying to tell us it did. But it did arrange deals with hundreds of millions of dollars, possibly billions in the case of, say, an Activision Blizzard, where it would provide all kinds of co-marketing. It would provide Play Store credits. It would provide, here's some ad revenue over there. We'll share a little bit of our profit from the App Store there. And it adds up to, if anybody else wants to compete with the Google Play Store, you are facing a huge uphill battle.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, indeed.
So one of the things that I kind of brought up when we talked about this last time was like cases like these really show you the public versus private arguments that companies like Google and Apple are making when they try to sell you on the security aspects of Android versus like everything they're doing for Google Play. So I kind of wanted to ask you about like what you saw when you were going through the trial. Like, what was the perception of like having these revelations, these Google Chat transcripts being shown to the jury? Like, did it really sway the jury's opinion that much? Like, was it did it play a key factor in actually having the jury decide against Google, to seeing the actual intentions behind these deals and everything?
One of my colleagues in the courtroom was able to chase down a juror after the case was done, and that juror told her. This is a journalist for MLex, whose name escapes me right now, but I'll look her up later. Anyhow, the juror told her that it really did, that Google did not seem credible to them, that Sundar Pichai did not seem credible on the stand based on everything they saw in testimony, based on what they heard in the courtroom. They thought that Epic was telling the truth and that Google was lying to protect itself for the most part. And so that was, and I can understand that, having seen the defense that Google mounted, having seen the internal emails that came out during this trial. There were so very many emails and chats where Google was very clearly trying to defend its Play profits. They very clearly wanted to block other app stores from being able to compete with Google Play. Like, that intent was obvious, but that's not the entirety of how courtrooms work. What happens after that is each side, Epic and Google, gets to ask the people who wrote those emails, who are brought into the court as witnesses. They get asked, what were you thinking? What did you mean when you wrote this? What did you mean when you said this? And both of the companies have a chance to allow that witness to explain away what they actually meant, to defend, what they said, what they wrote in those emails. And I could see, that Google was, trying to explain things in a way that were pretty clear on paper. It was pretty clear what they meant. So I can understand how the jurors wound up reaching that idea. But if you look at the contracts too, it is true that none of the contracts explicitly say you shall not have a rival app store on Android. You must put your game only in the Google Play Store. They say you have to ship it on the Google Play Store at the same time as you ship it elsewhere. You have to give it feature parity. And I could see how a developer, well, I guess I'm going to spend the money to make this game look good on Apple. I'm going to spend it to look good on Google Play. Maybe I'm not going to put the effort into these other stores. Again, uphill battle, but not outright block.
I have a really quick question for you, Sean, which is first of all, I want to say I've been following your reporting on this. Thank you so much.
Oh, thank you.
But I'm wondering, could you tell who in the courtroom was using Android? Did you look around? Did you survey to see who was actually using an Android device?
I wish it were that easy. Unfortunately, not only are no phones allowed in the courtroom,
that's true.
except for in the in the journalist section, and even then, they're a little cautious. But there were a couple times that some lawyer did whip out a phone, and the judge got a little snooty about that. And so by about halfway through the case, nobody was daring to pull out a phone anymore.
Oh my gosh. Oh gosh.
But one of the lawyers actually said, one of the lawyers on Epic's side was talking about how much she loved Google products and uses them all the time, and was still grilling. This is Lauren Moskowitz, one of the hard-nosed attorneys on the Epic Games side. She was talking up Google. At the same time, she was grilling Google real hard about their practices.
Wow. And that's not even all. Obviously, your reporting has been extensive on that case. So everybody who really wants to know this case inside and out, definitely, search out Sean's work at The Verge on that. But you also wrote about something that's not directly related, it's not part of this case at all, but it is related because it kind of feeds into the kind of very similar cross points between the two cases and the technology that Google's has with Android, entirely separate from the Epic versus Google case. This is a ruling, a ruling that happened in a case that Google, apparently this started back in 2021, 36 states suing Google over antitrust issues in the Play Store in the Play Store. And then there's settlement terms now from September that were just made public. And I don't know, I'm hearing about what is the impact here as far as sideloading, which is kind of like an Android staple as far as we're concerned. How does this impact in-app billing? A lot of questions about the impact of this case, which is different but similar. So talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, let me spend a moment on different but similar, because there are so many of these cases right now. It's a little bit hard to keep track. But the Apple case was different from the Google case, even though they're both about the Play Store and in-app billing practices, and maybe Google is making these secret deals and not, allowing other stores to rise up. They're antitrust suits. They're all like, does Google have a monopoly on this? And this one is a this last one here is a consolidated case that where it was originally, like you said, 36 state attorneys general, and it was consolidated with consumer plaintiffs as well. So there were a whole bunch of individual people who were like, I paid, or some lawyer got me to say that I paid more than I should have for apps because these companies, are their 30% fee is ridiculous and forcing developers to charge too much, and therefore I paid too much. So consumer plaintiffs, state attorneys general, all the rest of the states and several U.S. territories signed on as well. So this settlement should eventually cover all 50 states and beyond. And there were additionally, so states, consumers, I'm missing one other party, I think, that also consolidated under this. But this settlement came out, and the reaction I'm hearing when I look around is that this is one, an admission of guilt. Oh, Google's going to make all these concessions, and a settlement is by definition not that, for one thing. And two, I'm hearing that this doesn't seem like a lot of money when you consider that all 50 states and all of these consumer plaintiffs settled. We have seen settlements in the hundreds of millions of dollars already from Google over a single state. So for all the states to settle for $700 million, that's not a lot. The way it's distributed is interesting too. So first off, $700 million, as I mentioned in this piece, this is roughly 21 days worth of Google's profit from the App Store alone. So this is not a big amount of money for Google. Most of that money will go towards satisfying consumer plaintiffs. So $629 million will probably be distributed to individual users of Android who might get a buck or two. Maybe.
I was going to say, handful of cents.
And then the states are going to get $70 million, which has to cover all of their legal expenses, among other things. Taxes, fees, all that kind of stuff. And then there is the long list of concessions, which I argue in this piece are really not. I'd love to hear what all of you think, because I pay attention to Android, but you in this room know Android forwards and backwards. You've spent way more time digging into it than I have. I've followed some of your work. And what I know is that if I compare this to what Epic wants in the Epic v. Google case, this would not even begin to scratch the surface of what Tim Sweeney wants to see happen here. A lot of these practices... Go ahead.
Tim Sweeney came out swinging right after this case right after the settlement was revealed. He was not very happy with the outcome of this case. And one particular concession that he hammered on was the changes that Google's proposing to the default sideloading flow. Could you explain a bit about how sideloading is changing, if you know off the top of your head?
Yeah. I wonder if my quick post is coming. Okay, so literally today, if you try to sideload an app on Android, you're taken through something called the unknown sources flow, which Google argues, and this is mostly true, only requires you to enable this once for a particular source. So for instance, you say, I want my Chrome browser to be able to sideload apps to my phone. When I download an APK through Chrome, I want my phone to say, yes, I will actually install that. It's only a few steps. You only have to do it once for each source that you want to be able to install apps. You might have to do it again if you're downloading the Epic Games Launcher to install Fortnite. And Google itself does not impose very many of what Epic calls, and I agree with, should be called scare screens. But there are some scare screens, and one of them reads, your phone and personal data are more vulnerable to attack by unknown apps. By installing apps from this source, you agree that you are responsible for any damage to your phone or loss of data that may result from their use. And in the trial, Epic's experts argued that this is a little bit ridiculous for two reasons. One, they were saying, is there some implied warranty here, Google? Are you going to protect my phone from damage or loss of data if I install through the Play Store? And Google was forced to concede that, of course, no, they're not going to protect your phone from any damage, regardless of where you install your apps from. You're responsible, period. If you download an app from anywhere, it breaks your phone, you're responsible, not Google. Two, it sounds unnecessarily scary and winds up scaring people off. Epic showed that a certain percentage of people did not make it from the I am downloading this app and going to put it on my phone stage to the app has been installed in my phone stage. They saw a huge drop off between those stages, and the only thing that happens between those stages is the scare screens and the actual download process. So I suppose some of those people could have been fallen off because they couldn't download the app because of their data speed or something, but many of them probably got scared away. Okay, so that phrase, you agree that you're responsible for any damage to your phone or loss of data that may result from their use, is being replaced with something like this. Your phone currently isn't configured to install apps from this source. Granting this source permission to install apps could place your phone and data at risk. Less scary. Shorter. They also have to combine their two screens. They currently have two different things you have to click through into one. So you will get one screen with this message or something that is functionally identical to it, because that is what 50 states AG or maybe 36 states AG and Google have agreed to. This message like this or functionally like it, you'll download the app APK through Chrome. You'll get that one screen with that one message. You hit yes, actually, I do want to do that, and it should let you install the app.
Interesting. I know that we could talk for a lot longer about this, but I know that you have a heart out, and I want to make sure that we respect that, Sean. Love the reporting that you're doing on all this, because it's really helping to kind of make sense of a lot of things that could very easily get incredibly confusing. Yeah, this has been a pretty big couple of weeks for Android when we're talking about the business model of Android and the incentives that Google has to bake in some of these requirements, and now the unraveling of that, it kind of before our eyes in real time. So I imagine you're going to continue writing about this stuff as it pops up.
I will. I would hate to leave before hearing what you think is actually significant among this list of this long list of concessions.
As a developer, I'm
Actually-
not impressed by any of this.
Yeah.
But I'll leave it at that
put
since I want to let you
together-
go. But
There you go.
I'm sorry. I didn't mean to speak over Huyen.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to burst in flow.
No, it's okay. Oh my! And also look at us, women apologizing to each other. What are we doing? I actually put them into an article because I think that might be some bad news for Android users going forward. So I would like to defer to that for my list.
What do you say? What are some of those, if you had to summarize it real quick?
I have to remember what I wrote. What did I write? folks?
Computer on screen.
There was one on there that said like now the bloatware can continue. So Samsung OEMs can now include the kind of apps that they want to include on there without requiring consent from Google.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So that seems like kind of a bad news bears. Also, the advertising that they give you about like pricing, they can say whatever they want now, so they can plaster all over like it's cheaper if you go to this app store, or 30% off over here. I'm just like imagining ugly billboards all over like the paying module. It's just some really bad practices feel like they're coming. Oh, the app developers, they can update the app in the background without telling you through those third-party apps, so you can get random updates even if you thought that you had deferred them, which can be very annoying. That's like the number one thing Android users complain about in the forums. So
Wow.
I would take this from like two different perspectives. I'd say for like the average user, like when I saw like the ongoing when Epic v Apple was ongoing and that was decided, a lot of Apple users online were happy that Apple had won because they didn't want iOS to be opened up to third-party app stores, to all these other things, because they like the locking. They like having a single app store to download everything from. They like having a single payment provider that also handles refunds, that also handles their, all their customer support stuff. They like having all of that. And from a perspective, I can kind of understand that. Like for my parents, right? I don't want to have to micromanage the places they install software from. Like if I give them a Windows PC, I got to be careful because who knows what they might download and install, right? Versus with an iPhone or an average Android phone that just only installs from Google Play, there's not much I have to really worry about because of the baked-in protections. And yes, there are a lot of issues with Google Play, especially on the developer side, with their billing system, their customer support system, how they handle developer relations in terms of like if you get banned or you have a strike. And there's a lot of issues at play. But for the average user, they don't care. They just want something that works. They want something that's easy. And so, this unraveling and this opening up could potentially take away some of that simplicity for the average user. And I don't know if that's actually for the benefit of the average consumer. It's definitely for the benefit of the indie app developer and the small to medium app development company in many ways. But for the average consumer, there are some disadvantages to this opening up.
Well,
I see Wen shaking your head.
I told the story yesterday on DTNS with Tom, but basically, and something that you mentioned, Sean, is that even if this is open and nominally things are more equal, it's going to be a lot harder. A lot more things have to open up for two app stores to have an equal experience and to be of equal quality. And then I kind of mentioned an experience we had with Amazon App Store. Sure, we could put our app on Amazon App Store, but the app itself was inferior to our other app because of a lot of proprietary stuff, tied up with Google Play services. And yes, we actually respond to if our users don't want, extra friction, we're not going to spend the time to invest in a alternate payment source. So we respond to that too. So again, like I'm just very disappointed by all this, and I don't think it's enough yet because again, I believe in like equal, in equal app stores and in quality in markets. But until things loosen up, until there's actual equality in market power, in kind of like frictionless interaction with the users, it's not going to happen. And people like me are just not going to spend the time to do it. I'm not going to support 4 app stores as an indie dev because it's not worth my time. I'll just support Google Play Store, put up with it, and then hope my account never gets banned until I can actually reasonably justify the ROI on supporting multiple stores. And I think that's the point that you made. I just like, yeah, it's not equal. It's far from it. So
yeah, it's not clear to me. One of the things that's interesting for me about spending little time listening to the legal system in action is it's not clear to me who, if anybody, would have the power to make it fully equal or even close to fully equal. Like the states, they weren't going to get there. The Epic may have won, but we have no idea what the judge believes is in his power to grant, that he believes, is not only in his power to grant initially, but won't be overturned on appeal.
Right.
Because a judge would not want to grant something that will be overturned on appeal. That's not great. Maybe what we've seen more and more recently is that Europe is setting the tone for regulation across the board in technology. Their regulators are willing to push further and have the power to fine real amounts of money that actually impact a company's bottom line if they do not comply, and make things more fair as far as the European regulators believe them to be fair.
Who knew the EU would regulate capitalism? Who knew that they would do?
Turning out to be a pretty effective approach for getting kind of the technology companies to kind of bend.
Hey,
in
iPhone got
ways.
USB-C.
That's exactly right. And we're certainly not at the end of what we're going to see as far as that's all concerned.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, I'm super aware of the time, and I know we need to let you go. Sean Hollister, thank you so much for being here. It's really great to get your perspective on all of this, and I've just always really appreciated your reporting. And everybody should definitely check out what you're doing at The Verge. If people want to find you online, just go to theverge.com, do a search for Sean Hollister, that's the way to find you there.
That'll work. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Right on. Sean, thank you. We'd love to have you back sometime soon. We appreciate your time.
Bye, everyone.
All right.
Bye.
Take care, Sean.
Bye.
And through the magic of podcasting, we bring back Ron.
Hello. I
Welcome
figured
back to the show.
There was enough people at the table. I wanted to defer. You didn't need to see my big head. That way, I could press the buttons behind the scenes.
I know.
And do my best impression of Burke. So
Yes, exactly. You got to see what it was like to be a technical director.
Exactly. So cool stuff. I mean, it was fascinating just to listen to that, and I think that this is like gonna be my 2 cents is this is a moment in time. Like this is whether we realize it now or not. This is a marker for what is the next chapter of all this stuff that's going to shape what we're looking like for the next couple of years. So really curious to see how it all pans out.
Yeah.
So, yeah,
Indeed.
Cool.
All right.
And
That wasn't
Sean is
the
so
only
great,
news,
by the
though.
way. How great is Sean? He's
Sean's
fantastic. So
He's one of my favorites. Absolutely one of my favorites. He's a great guy. All right. When we got more news.
We
It's got your
do.
name written all over it. Well, at
It
least your
does.
initials.
If I could just find the sheet after, going back and forth, and it's kind of the story that keeps on giving, for better for worse. We did have Eric Mijikowski with us. Was it just a couple weeks ago or a couple weeks ago? And the beeper saga continues. And we touched last week how the U.S. government, specifically Senators Klobuchar and Warren, were starting to pipe in on the conversation and join the conversation and call into question what Apple is doing. So, of course, Beeper, since we talked to Eric Mijikowski, has had a rough time of it, to put it lightly. And of course, Apple has repeatedly been engineering ways to block them from, from Beeper Mini being, functional. And, with all this, in the middle of all this, you have to give Eric and the team at Beeper a lot of credit for fighting the good fight, because people have noticed. And this week, so on top of, Senator Warren and Senator Klobuchar, speaking out, and also having Eric to testify before Congress, Senators Amy Klobuchar of Minnesota and Mike Lee of Utah, and Representatives Jerry Nadler of New York and Ken Buck have jointly written a letter that is basically pushing for an investigation of Apple for, quote, potentially anti-competitive conduct, in regard to them just basically parrying every blow that Beeper has been, hitting them with. And, they say in this letter that Beeper Mini is, quote, creating a more competitive mobile applications market, which in turn creates a more competitive mobile device market. And they used, and we mentioned before with the EU and their Digital Markets Act, the DMA, and, the recent news of, certain companies that provide core services or that have core services being labeled gatekeepers. They're using the same, language to kind of, I believe, evoke these same kind of feelings. And of course, I think the DMA did label iMessages, for example, and Apple as being core service and gatekeeper, consecutive or respectively.
Actually, it looks like they're not. Like, there was a latest report that hasn't been official yet, but it looks like they're not going to be labeling iMessage a gatekeeper in the EU just because of its relatively low use. Which would be interesting because if a similar legislation was passed in the US, there's no way iMessage wouldn't
Very
be
different
called a
demographic.
gatekeeper.
Yeah.
I mean,
that's fair in the
the-
EU, and that's fair.
The point that Flo made earlier about look at the EU, doing capitalism, but because there's not enough volume of iOS users in Europe, it's not an issue.
It doesn't even make a blip.
Yeah,
But I mean, but I think it is going to show that at least in the U.S. it does matter, and it is the finger pointing is definitely more valid, and it is a case to say at least in the U.S. it is a core service, and that's what this letter seems to be kind of like evoking, and the imagery and language that it's using, and well, I mean, we'll see how that shakes out, and what further actions our lawmakers here in the U.S. will take. Beeper, meanwhile, is working, but for those of you who are following and trying to support Beeper, at least continuing to be users, things are getting a little even more dicey. We reported last week that basically now you have to use a Apple ID. Well, it's even harder than that. Basically, the reason that Apple has been able to basically poo-poo on the Beeper party this last week is that when you are logging into iMessage, basically Apple wants you to have some kind of freaking Apple hardware, whether it's a phone or a computer. And basically when you are logging in, some registration data is generated by some Apple hardware that goes in with that sign-in request. And it's like, hey, yeah, Apple hardware here in the house. We're good. We're one of y'all. So basically what was happening is that Beeper's service was generating that registration data for you from their little farm of very hardworking, Mac servers. But the problem is scale. So at the scale that Beeper is operating at, one registration data generated from one of their servers was being used for 1,000 users, and that's probably like being able to basically filter out registration data that was being used by 1,000 different accounts is something that Apple managed to pick up on. So what the Beeper solution is to basically let you or your friends that happen to have Apple hardware generate registration data for you and share that, which is not good, is not the best experience for less tech savvy people. Beeper did find a way. It wasn't quite as hard as drilling into amber and extracting DNA from a mosquito, but it's getting to be there. And so, yes, if you have a Mac device that you want to generate registration data for iMessage services, you can share that with 10 to 20 of your friends, because that's about the size that seems to still, not, alert Apple's servers that, hey, you're doing something I don't like. But you will have to regenerate this registration data once a week to once a month because of the way that it works, and it's going to want to see new registration data. So that's I don't know how to spin that. I mean, like, there's a way, but it's not.
It's not easy. This is like classic square peg round hole, or Android phone peg apple-sized hole, right?
Yeah, totally.
But so there's so much to unpack with this. The two things I want to make a point, and then Flo, I want to have you weigh in on this. One is the fact that this went from us talking to Eric 2 weeks ago, and like Eric being on This Week in Tech and like doing the rounds of the tech thing, to the fact that CBS Mornings is covering it, is like in a 2 week span, I think is fascinating. Further, CBS, and that's CVS, you can go get your flu shots, but at CBS, in that piece, and I encourage you to go check out CBS Mornings, it's online, you can watch the piece where they interview Eric, and they revealed the identity of the 16-year-old hacker, a kid by the name of James Gill, who's also in that interview. So if you want to see the kid who figured this out, bravo to him. I hope he has a very successful future ahead of him.
The kid who's working overtime right now, because every time they fix it, it gets broken again. He's like, oh, God, here I go again.
But Flo, I know you've written a bunch about this since it's happened. So what is your take on the whole Beeper situation for our listeners who might not have read your pieces? So,
Ron, you said something, and then my earphones went null. So that's awesome.
What is your take on the whole Beeper saga right now? All right. Well, Flo's having some technical difficulties.
I'm really sorry
so
that I have to do this mid-recording. I don't know what just happened. I'm so sorry.
Okay.
Everyone.
That's okay.
All
there
right.
are other headphones.
Yeah.
If there's one positive outcome to all of this,
wanted to be on the show today.
Mishaal, there's one positive outcome?
If there's one positive outcome to come out of all of this, it's hopefully something similar to the DMA gets passed in the US and Apple is forced to open up iMessage. I'll take the loss of Beeper Mini if that happens.
It would be nice if we're able to get that solution and Apple relents, basically.
Eric, so this is an interesting thing.
I'm back, by the way.
Oh, great.
Welcome back, Flo.
I'm sorry.
That's okay. We missed you, but we're really happy.
It's good
to
that you're back.
And that
What you missed is I wanted to know what your take on the whole Beeper saga has been.
Yeah, well, I wanted to tell you, but my OnePlus Buds Pro died. Even though I charged them. Not sure what happened there, OnePlus.
Get better with that wireless charging.
So really what's kind of going on here in my mind is, first of all, I guess kudos to getting Warren on this crusade, because she's looking for anything right now to latch onto. Yes, it's a political statement I'm making. And I just find it really interesting that we're rallying the senators this way without considering that iMessage could be built along the same lines as like the Slack or Discord apps, because iMessage may be proprietary to other iMessage users on a certain platform, but it doesn't keep people from actually texting each other, because it will still allow you to send a text message regardless. And I really I understand what Beeper is trying to do for the platform, and I swear I am not taking Apple's side here, but this feels like a lot of hoops to jump through.
Oh yeah.
to make this work.
And I think you're right, Flo, in that as much as I have sometimes positive feelings for our lawmakers, I think that there is the gap and the discrepancy between, what the image presented is and the actual technical / business, reality of it. I feel like it's diluting the message a little bit if we kind of go in this and it, it kind of overturned easily. I kind of feel that way, that sometimes like I don't know, I'm being mean and kind of like basically attacking the lack of technical acumen in Congress. But I just feel like that it doesn't have the
You're not
punch.
being mean. You're being truthful. These are people that we have voted in who are supposed to be representing us, and they do not know what they are representing. And it's frustrating.
It's frustrating,
especially with all this tech legislation going on, like the stuff with the Play Store, right? At the end of the day, like the users are the ones that are going to get the backs, the splashback from all of this. Like we're the ones that are going to have to deal with all of this like platform fighting. And if a politician really wants to appeal to us, like that's where they need to really get us, but they're not doing that because what they're doing is just latching on to it's election season, guys.
Oh yeah,
I mean, you're totally right.
Like,
I mentioned
it's
this last
totally
week.
going on.
I said this last week, but like the whole premise of Warren and Klobuchar latching onto this is flawed from the beginning because Beeper isn't competing. It's not competing with iMessage. It's an iMessage client. It's piggybacking and using.
Well,
iMessage.
no, but the thing is that there. But I will counter that because the argument isn't so much competing. Rather, it's the exclusionary. The angle that the government comes in is the exclusionary tactics that Apple does to suppress. This is big tech suppressing American innovation, right? Like that's the government angle that they're seeing. Whether you agree with it or not, I'm not saying I prescribe to that or not, but that is what where they're coming from is that you've got a bunch of people in DC who are looking at Apple and Google and Microsoft and all these companies as these companies that have gotten too powerful, they've gotten too big. We need to reel them in. And here's an example of a David versus a Goliath. That's all it is. And to Flo's point, they don't understand what the F they're talking about at all, right? No, they're taking that position, and it's good for Beeper because it's getting CBS to notice, is getting the publicity to notice. And the fact of the matter is that. Yeah, and it's funny because I've seen so many articles cropping up, and actually, I almost want to skip ahead to one of our emails, which we'll do that. I'm gonna, because hey, I'm running the show, and I can do whatever I want. Sure, Flo.
Sorry. Actually, can I interrupt you? I just wanted to say that actually, I've only written one article on this so far, and it's because we had an internal discussion. Like, it makes sense for 9 to 5 and the blogs to kind of like keep up with what's going on in the incremental like stages, because that's what we go to them for. But for the bigger outlets, like right now, bigger outlets. I meant more mainstream.
No, more general, not specific.
Apologies to our friends
followed.
in blogs.
Yeah.
But what I want to say is that I'm really just kind of sitting back and watching this right now. Like I have Beeper installed. Every time they ask me to reauthorize, I do. And you guys know I cover iPhone now, so I have the hardware to spoof it myself.
Yep.
And so I'd be very curious if they end up coming up with a solution that will just let us Android users more easily, like with our resources, do something, which I'm cool with because that's in the spirit of being Android.
Well, so that's a great segue. We did get into, so we're going to jump to one of our emails. We're going to pivot a little bit. Bob from Pennsylvania wrote in and he says, "Hey, Android faithful, maybe this is beating a dead horse to talk about some more, but I think this article sums up my feelings about iMessage pretty well. I don't really want to use iMessage, but I just want the bullying and complaining about our green bubbles to stop. Ugh. It's Beeper's Mini's message of peace that is the compelling part, not the bubble color it promises. Anyway, thanks for what you do for the community. Love the show. Super excited Jason's returning. We all are. Not that everyone else isn't great. Haha. No, we're not as great as Jason is. This just makes a great team even greater." Bob from Pennsylvania. And the article Bob was referring to was a piece that ran on Android Police, which I think represented, I saw a bunch of articles that were similar to this, where this is a piece by Will Saddleberg at Android Police, where the headline is, "Android users don't want iMessage, they just want peace." And that pretty much sums it up, is that all Apple's got to do is implement RCS and get rid of the two different colors. That's all it is. And then this all goes away, and they could stop Beeper in their track. If tomorrow they updated iMessage and said all bubble colors, you can pick your bubble colors, the customizable bubble colors, and everyone will be blue, this all evaporates. And why they won't do that is just a little bit of hubris, a little bit of stubbornness, a little bit of Apple, like that sort of
they're
thing.
not going to get rid of the colors.
Yeah.
Like the colors serve a purpose. They are there for a very specific purpose.
Yeah.
They also have the added benefit, depending on who you ask, of like waging this like class war behind the scenes. But they have an actual purpose.
Yeah.
They do tell you that certain features within the Apple realm are going to work if your color is that. And I don't even think that, RCS being encrypted changes that. Apple still has many features in iMessage that they're going to want other users of iMessage to know that they get those features between each other. But I would agree. I think the majority of Android users, at least this is where I stand, like I'm far less interested in using iMessage as my messaging platform. Like I could really care. I couldn't care less about that. I just want for my messages to not suck when I'm chatting with an iPhone user.
Yeah, I just
And
want to be
think
able
they
to
want the
see
same
the
thing.
photos
The
from the
photos and the
outing with
video.
kids.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes,
Exactly.
to the
There are
iPhone parents.
There are friends of mine who I can't send. I went to a concert a couple weeks ago. My buddy's like, "Oh, send me." I saw Jason Isbell join Dinosaur Jr. and it was fantastic. And he's like, "Send me that video." And he's on iOS, so I didn't even bother to send the video. I sent him a link to the video in
Yeah.
Google Photos, right?
Yeah, there you go.
And but he's not one of us, so he's like, "What do I do with this link?" And I was like, "Oh,
Right.
Christ." Yeah,
I'm
it's
so
like,
confused.
yeah,
Do I have to
yeah,
log
exactly.
in?
Yeah. So anyway,
Yes, that brings me to the point. It's kind of absurd that Apple has to compete by locking users out from sharing files from one another and just sending messages to one another. Phone makers should
But
be
it
competing
doesn't lock.
on.
Hold on, it doesn't lock anybody.
Well,
It just does
but,
it
like,
in low
makes
res.
it
That's how they
annoying.
skirt it. I know, but
but
but I just want to bring that up because I saw that Warren tweet that we put up about her saying how could Apple ban it? And Apple banned Beeper because it was doing something that was kind of against its terms of service,
which we totally understood why they did, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
They were using an exploit that spammers could use if they could figure it out, right? It was really kind of dangerous. They were playing with fire, And
I'm not defending Apple. I just am trying to bring up I'm trying to think like a lawyer and how they would look for, the ways that they would prove you wrong with you saying that oh, you got locked out. No, we didn't lock you out. We still let you use parts of this. It's the exclusivity of the high res is for the device owners.
Yeah.
This is sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, my main point was that phone makers should be competing on things like camera quality, on your camera sensors, your display quality, your battery, your actual your unique software features, your AI, assistant, and what are not the ability to share files via AirDrop. Because if you want to share files between Android and iOS, you got to have everyone agree on something. If you want to send messages, you got to use a different app. It's kind of ridiculous that we have to jump through these hoops just to be able to talk to each other or send files to each other.
Meanwhile, I'm enjoying my life with Nearby Share. I'm just sharing files between my Windows PC and the 3 Android phones I have around me. And then when I have to do any file moving between the iOS devices, I'm like, oh my God, I have no idea how I'm going to do this.
Flo, you are literally the biggest fan of Nearby Share I know. Every time we talk, Nearby Share gets in the conversation.
Sometimes I use it because I'll take screenshots on the Z Fold and then I'll send those screenshots of memes to the Pixel because I need to send a signal message. And it's only encrypted on one device. So
I got my husband did really love Nearby Share when we were in Japan because our service was spotty. So when we were sharing links and sharing pictures, we just used Nearby Share. He freaking loves it now.
Yes.
Oh, that's pretty clever. That's a smart solve.
And my husband's an Android dev, so he should know about this stuff. And obviously, it is tech savvy, but it just takes using it and having good use.
I just taught my husband about it too recently. He was like, "What is this?" I was like, "It's Nearby Share."
It's a Nearby Share kumbaya.
That's real. That's a really clever usage of Nearby Share. When I gotta remember.
Yeah, no,
that.
I didn't even think about it. I was like, oh, we can Nearby Share.
Sometimes I do the AirDrop to my husband. We'll be sitting on the couch and I'll send him something an awful screenshot that I just pasted. But yeah, it's possible for us now.
All right. Well, we can go on and on talking about this, but we got even more show to get through.
We aren't even done with news.
Yeah, I know exactly. Well, we got one last bit of news to go through because Every week, all of our awesome patrons over at Patreon get the opportunity to help us to vote on a story for us to talk about. And before we do that, I do want to take a moment and thank all the amazing people on Patreon, including all of our new patrons who joined now that Jason has joined. You all are amazing. We've been calling it the Jason bump internally. And we know that there's more of you out there. We really appreciate your support, helping the four of us, five of us, six of us, the big Android faithful fam get it all done. We really appreciate that. And so thank you to everybody supporting it. And you can go to patreon.com/AndroidFaithful, and there you could sign up. And we know there's more of you out there that might be on the fence. It's very cheap. You can sign up for as low as $5 a month, $10 a month, $20 a month. There's also the $500 a month that gets you on the show, which I'm surprised nobody's done yet. Come on, use that year-end bonus. But so you go, and in addition, you can go to patreon.com/AndroidFaithful, and every week you can vote on a new story. And this week we had 3 stories up for grabs. Nothing OS 2.5 based on Android 14 begins rolling out to the Nothing Phone 2, came in last with 14%. Methinks nobody cares about nothing. Coming in second was the fact that the Grand Theft Auto trilogy is now on Netflix games on mobile, including Android. Got 23% of the vote. But the winner, above all, was the fact that Google Messages, sure enough, is giving RCS chats background wallpaper.
You know what? It was time.
Yep.
It was time.
So, as they're looking for what their own green bubble functionality could be inside Google Messages, Google's now giving more of a green circle / bubbles backdrop for RCS conversations. This is separate from another feature that's coming soon that allows for custom bubble colors, which is what I mentioned earlier is what Apple should just do. But they're just like, while all this beeper drama is going on, I love the fact that Google is silent and just slowly adding more features to Google Messages.
We're here. We have cool stuff for you.
And it's fine. I've been perfectly happy. And yeah.
So I love Google Messages, by the way, except I want it back. You guys know what I want, right? Mishaal and Huyen, I've been complaining about it all year, right?
Rightfully so.
The message sorting feature that was there that separated your personal texts from from business
When did
texts.
they remove that? I mean, I never used it, but when did they remove that?
They removed it like in August, I think, like August or September for some reason. It was before Android 14 rolled out. I'm praying that there's a larger plan that will apply and bring it. But like right now, like it was so great because my messages were so neat and tidy. I had all my friends and I had all my OTP messages, my 2FA messages and marketing messages and things like that. They were separated. I was texting more. And now that it's just a mess of personal mixed with business stuff, I'm texting less. And so
socializing more.
Maybe they're Geminifying the AI that helps you sort through things and adding summaries or something.
They're
Gemini.
turning it into an air sign. Yeah.
I hope so.
Maybe.
But who knows? So there you go. That's what the patrons want us to talk about. But I do, before we move on, 2 more notes about our patrons. First, I want to thank David Gerbino, who is one of our patrons, for supporting us. David, you rock. We thank you very much. Shout out to you, my
David.
friend. And then finally, a little bit of a plug. As I said earlier, this is the last episode of the year, and we're going to be dark next week for the holidays. But we are going to do a patron exclusive wrap up of 2023 where Mishaal, Huyen, and Jason and I are going to talk about our favorite things from 2023 in Android and kind of give you our little picks. You can only get that on Patreon though. So if you want to hear that Patreon exclusive, you got to go to patreon.com/AndroidFaithful and sign up. So that's going to be coming out next week. So keep an eye out on that. And I am going to break the news that we're not going to do a best of this year. Thank you to everybody who submitted the stuff. But the combination of we just didn't get enough submissions and running out of time and all that sort of stuff. But we will do it.
There's been a lot of change in December.
Yeah, there's been a lot of change. So bear with us. We thank you everybody for. I will say that the majority of the best of moments were the starting of the show and Jason joining. So.
There you go. There's your best of moment right there.
Just watch last week's episode. You got it. There you go.
But instead of a best of, Jason,
if it makes you feel any better, Ron, when I was kind of going through old episodes from Twit and like pulling out like archive episodes that I want to keep on a hard drive and not just up in the cloud in case they disappear someday. Not that I think that they will, but I just want to keep them. And I realized, and I forgot about this, I think the first 3 years of All About Android, we did not have a best of. So we're
keeping that tradition.
Yeah, we're keeping the tradition alive.
Yeah.
No best of first year.
But instead, you're going to get a Patreon exclusive 2023 wrap
There you
up.
go.
So tune into patreon.com/AndroidFaithful for that. And with that, I'm going to stop talking so we can get into hardware.
Let's do
And
it.
this is where normally there'd
Yeah.
be some music or something.
Hopefully, eventually, we'll get some music.
I'll work on it.
Yeah.
Someday.
So the first bit of hardware news we have is a report from a publication called The Information. If you're a subscriber, they do a lot of excellent reporting about Silicon Valley tech companies. And this time they did a report talking about various efforts by Google to shore up its AI, its work on AI and OpenAI to compete with OpenAI, et cetera. And one of the interesting tidbits they revealed is that Google appears to be working on a new AI assistant for Pixel smartphones called Pixie. And this is rumored to be basically a much more personalized version of Google Assistant. So basically, you teleport yourself back, time travel back 8 years ago, and everything you thought Google Assistant would be, hopefully this is what it will actually be whenever this launches sometime, hopefully with a Pixel 9.
Sure, keep
So,
hoping. Keep hoping.
Keep hoping. So Pixie is rumored to be using the new Gemini large language model that we talked about a couple of weeks back, that Google unveiled. There are 3 tiers of the Gemini model: the Gemini Nano, Gemini Pro, and Gemini Ultra. The Pro model is what's currently used on Bard Online. The Gemini Nano model is what's currently being used on the Pixel 8 Pro for the summarization feature in the Pixel Recorder app, as well as the new Smart Reply feature in Gboard when you're messaging through WhatsApp. So right now, the Gemini Nano model can't really do a lot except for very small text-based stuff. So we don't know exactly the full details of what exactly Google will be shipping once they enable this Pixie AI assistant on device. But perhaps it's a more sophisticated version of the Gemini model running on next year's device, or maybe the year after's device. But supposedly this model will be able to synthesize information from various Google services like Gmail, Maps, and other Google products. And you'll be able to, maybe do things like have it automatically give you information about a package in Gmail and automatically show you its routing information through Maps. Like, who knows? We don't have a lot of details. We just know it's something that they're working on right now. But it is interesting that it sounds a little bit different than the previous feature that we know is coming, that Google did show off at the Made by Google event in October, which is the assistant with Bard. That doesn't seem to be the same thing as Pixie. That seems to be potentially a less evolved version of Pixie. Pixie might be the next evolution of assistant with Bard. So hopefully we'll find out more once that launches. And there was one other small tidbit from this report, is that Google was toying with some kind of object recognition with smart glasses. Basically, you have like glasses that you can take a picture and ask it, and it can describe what you're looking at.
Really?
If you're, I don't know if you've seen the demos of
What's the point of
Ray-Ban.
Wearing glasses
Hold on,
and take a picture of an
Bear with
object and then have it tell you what you're looking at?
Bear with me for a second.
I mean, I recognize maybe if you're visually impaired, that could be helpful, but I can see the goddamn thing in front of me. I don't need you to tell me what it is, Pixie.
Bear with me for a sec. It's basically like Google Lens, but always active. I don't know if you've seen the demo.
that's
This
a
is how much
nightmare.
this costs. This is how much this
Ray-Ban.
costs.
He's
This
like,
is how
yes,
much
we
this
know, thank
costs.
you.
Well, yeah, the
Yeah.
Meta Ray. So a friend of mine has the Meta Ray Bans. I was
Yeah.
going to bring that up. A friend of mine got them, and he loves them. He's taking pictures with them and using
Yeah.
them and stuff like that. Thinks they're
Yeah,
awesome.
like they look really impressive. Basically, anything you take a picture of, you can ask it to describe it. And like Marquez, the MKBHD crew, they did a live demo of it on them while they were doing the podcast, and it like described 2 guys with them in front of a microphone when it appears to be doing a podcast, and it was so cool.
That's a trip. I gotta say, this whole Pixie thing horrifies me because my kids have they're gonna be 5 in a couple of days. They figured out how to talk to the Google Homes, and now it is like literally walking through my house, the Christmas tree just turns on and off, but with a little kid voice going, "Hey G, turn off the Christmas tree. Hey G, turn on the Christmas tree." Right? So if you give it a name like Pixie and make it even that much more friendly, it's going to be even that much more horrifying. So
What a cute name, too. The Pixie. It's a cute name.
yeah.
Pixie.
Oh god.
Marketable.
Yeah, that's for sure.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of a convenient name considering. the
Meet
Pixel and
Pixie.
everything. I like it. Yeah.
It's
Meet
cute.
Pixie.
It's for tween girls.
I see the marketing
Remember
campaign there.
Justness? This is the new. Millennial moms, do you remember this era? We're back.
I kind of want to get
when,
those.
when
those
the
Ray-Bans
Assistant
now.
launched, it was pretty cool, and it did do some really cool things, and then it just all fell apart. It did.
Look
yeah.
at us, we're all cynical about
I just
it now.
I just want to like reconstruct a little bit of the history, because it's easy to look back and be like, it never did anything we wanted it to do, and it's not true. Like, you know, the OK Google. Can I say that on this show? You know, that whole thing, like there were times where we were really taken by the capability and the technology. And then over time, it just seemed to really fall apart. Now, like I'm surprised when it does exactly what I want it to do. I want that to change.
I will be honest, I don't have the sound effect. Burke hasn't sent it to me yet, but I have the sound effect in my Google Glass reaction. But as someone who is easily impressed by technology, I find myself arguing with Google, with the Google Assistant more often than not. Where it's like I'm still having problems with YouTube Music. It still doesn't play the stuff I want it to. You know, I don't know. Jason, to your point, it is very, very frustrating.
Yeah.
And the canned responses, and when I know I'm getting a bad answer, and like also it's great to have the continuous conversation, but also doesn't know when to not talk.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so like just
Right.
like being in the kitchen and just all of a sudden it starts talking to you. It's like, stop it. You know, so
Or when it
more
starts
just-
talking and you're yelling at the kid to do something, and then it starts listening while you're yelling.
Yep.
So it's actually sending Google an entire audio of you and how you yell at your child when no one is looking.
And then it's judging you.
yeah.
writing a report.
Some intern is judging me.
I saw a stupid TikTok doing the "we're blank" meme, you know, and it's we're parents. We're gonna kill you with kindness and then yell at you for no reason and then apologize. And I'm like, oh god, too real.
Too real.
Yeah.
You know what else is like parents? The Asus ROG Phone 8 and 8 Pro. See, it's like I didn't even take a couple of weeks off from podcasting. It's
Smooth
like
as
riding a
segue,
bike.
like butter.
Yeah.
Like
Isn't that great? I did that off the top of my head. Even I know that's weird to consider. The Asus ROG Phone 8 and the 8 Pro. Apparently, this is my beat because I think I talked about this last week too. Gets even more leaked designs, full specs even, and we were talking about it a little bit last week. You know, the ROG phone. It
ROG.
is. I know you say ROG, and I'm reprogramming myself.
ROG.
I just want to know. I just
Gamers.
want to know, how do I get a visa to get to the Republic of Gaming? How do I get to the Republic of Gaming? What
Oh,
is the-
Republic of Gaming. Sorry, I got it wrong.
no, you get a VISA, Ron, to go
Okay,
to
got
ROG. Okay.
You buy one of these phones. That's all it takes.
That's all it takes.
That's all it takes.
What is the currency rate there?
It's RGB lighting.
I was gonna say it's LED. Yeah, something along those lines. Last week when we were talking about this, I was mentioning that this phone looks less gaming phone, more kind of mainstream
Consumer
gaming phone.
Yeah.
It
Still has
is
that?
it's the gaming phone for your parents. There you go.
Yeah, sure. If your parents ever wanted a phone with with a colorful LED
you
logo
can
on
get
the
a
back.
Font
get
will
a-
be that big.
You can get a water cooled phone to play solitaire on.
Yes.
Hey, it's intense. Okay.
Okay, but in all sincerity, though, I
like this.
I've never actually touched this phone except for like one time 7 years ago on All About Android. I think somebody brought it
Yeah.
to the studio. It was like the one time. I think it was Josh Vergara, actually, now that I remember.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Yeah, but
That sounds right.
I'm thinking about Mishaal. You were talking today about your Fold and how you use the handheld controllers with it and how you're doing all this gaming. And I was thinking about how I don't have the hardware to do that right now. I should probably call something in, but like I really like the Xbox Game Pass and being able to just like jump in to Dreamlight Valley, which is the only game that I've played this year. I just love this idea of your phone being a little game console with just an extra accessory. We should just normalize that. That's what they were supposed to be doing this whole time.
Yeah, I mean, I honestly just do not have enough time to game anymore. I'm always knee deep into
Yeah, we're
Android.
adults. I
So
know.
like
That's the first thing to
But,
go.
like,
First thing to go. my
recently,
friend.
since I started using a book style foldable, I have actually started gaming a lot more on it because it has a large
Mhm.
enough screen to me to comfortably game on it. So
I
like I
started
have one
reading.
of those telescopic gaming controllers that I open up. And recently, when I went on vacation, like my brother's place during Thanksgiving, like I actually played quite a bit of games on my OnePlus Open. And now that I switched back to my Z Fold 5 in anticipation of what's coming next month, I'm going to be doing the same with my Z Fold 5 once I start traveling next month for all the events that are coming up.
Look at that. It's like way better than Nintendo doesn't give you a screen that big.
Now,
It's awesome.
I'm shocked that I mean, and I'm not in the gaming world or whatever. What are you playing, Minecraft? What do you?
Yeah, that's Minecraft.
Minecraft.
What are you, 8?
Oh my god, the shade is so real over there, Ron.
Sorry. But I'm shocked that I haven't seen anyone doing this with a foldable yet. Right? Like you're the first person
Oh,
I've seen.
they do on Reddit. Like if you go on Reddit, you'll see people post their setups all the time.
Yeah. Well, that's pretty cool. So. All right. Well, it sounds like that's all we have to say about that.
That's all we're
Don't
gonna say
mind
about
me.
that.
My power's about to go off.
No,
I know. Yeah. So, all right. Well, we'll move on to the
I'm
next story.
serious.
Yes, well, we just wanted to let you know real quick that OnePlus did not settle, and that's not why someone found a bug in one of their phones. Basically, in response to the reports from OnePlus 12 owners over in China, and to one of them having a bug in some glue and like having like gaps between the camera casing and the phone, just basically saying it's all standard. That's standard practice for tolerances to respond to kind of situations that might cause tension enough to crack the phone. And glue is totally standard. Used it totally, high quality still. We're not settling at all. That's basically it. And then Xiaomi throws shade at them for maybe settling on the build quality of this. But more substantively, if you're a mid-range lover and you were sad that the OnePlus 11R, the R being OnePlus's mid-range series, was only available in India, well, guess what? This is your year, because the OnePlus 12R will be coming to North America and Europe. Sorry for all of our listeners not in North America and Europe, but kind of setting aside all of the Android drama in the Chinese market, guess what? OnePlus 12R coming to North America and the US. There you go. We're just going to leave it at that.
Is going this winter you're supposed to be cozy at the start of the new year. You're supposed to be setting goals. You're supposed to be like thinking about the year ahead. We're going to be barreling through all these new phones coming down the pipeline.
I gotta tell you, I am so excited to get my hands on the OnePlus 12. This is I'm at a point now where I can't decide which phone I want as my daily driver more, whether it's the Google Pixel 8 Pro, which I'm currently using, the OnePlus Open, or the upcoming OnePlus 12. Like, this is like, I can't remember a time where it's been a plethora of phones to choose from that I'm like excited to use. I don't know, maybe I'm alone there, but
well,
I think
burden by choice.
Yeah.
No, you're right. And OnePlus has really increased the value on their devices. Like my husband uses whatever OnePlus I give him, and he takes some incredible pictures that I was never able to take in my review. Any review I've taken of our kid, like he knows how to use the freaking depth of field on there. Like he I don't know what it is, but he vibes with it. And so I like that we still have OnePlus around.
No, OnePlus is on the upswing, man. This is like second, third act of OnePlus, man. I'm pro OnePlus. So yeah.
No, I know. I'm just I wish they were a little less bubbly on their interface. Yes.
Well, yeah, that's the only thing that's the only thing that's got me on the fence. And Mishaal, are you're using the OnePlus Open as your daily driver, right?
Or OS.
Are you still
wannabe?
I was, but I switched over to the Z Fold 5 back again because anticipation of the S24 series. I want to get used to One UI once again.
Yeah.
And Samsung does it really well, with the One UI on the foldable. Like
that's a bridge I won't cross. I'm not coming over to Samsung land. As much as I know you'd like me to.
Just step a foot in, Ron.
Nope.
Ron doesn't
how
like.
nice it is
Ron
here.
doesn't
I
want
said the same
Smart Select.
thing.
He doesn't want Smart Select. That's his problem.
I drew a line years ago with Flo, when Flo was the president of the Samsung whatchamacallit,
Fan club.
Yeah, that I for whatever reason
I still sleep with the Fold every night.
What you do at home is your own business, Flo. I'm not gonna question or judge anything.
We didn't ask.
Well, this show's gone off the rails, and I love it. So, but I'm excited. Mishaal?
Yeah, no, just saying, bringing us back to topic. Like one of the, I think I picked a perfect time to switch back to the Z Fold 5 because one of the things I disliked about the Z Fold 5 was that I had to use a Samsung keyboard app if I wanted to use stylus handwriting on the inner screen. But right as I
Oh.
switched back, Gboard started rolling out stylus handwriting
Yeah.
support.
Oh
So
my God,
finally,
yeah.
I can have stylus handwriting when I'm using Gboard, and I can keep Gboard as my main keyboard on both the cover screen and the inner screen. I'm so happy right now.
That is your
So,
Christmas fruitcake and eating it
Yeah,
too.
just over the weekend, a couple of users noticed that Gboard is now letting them write with their stylus on their device. A couple of Pixel tablet owners first noticed this, which, by the way, if you weren't aware, the Pixel tablet supports styluses, even though Google doesn't officially sell one.
Yeah.
So, hey, Google, when are you going to... Oh, sorry.
Oh, no.
Said the naughty word totally accidentally. That was an accident.
Oh,
You have to apologize. Drink.
When are you going to release your stylus for the Pixel tablet?
I don't think they're. By the way, I don't think they're going to, because I remember asking them when I went and I saw the Pixel tablet. I was like, "Are you guys releasing any accessory besides the stand-up case?" And they were like, "No." So, by the way, I forgot all about that tablet.
My tablet's sitting right there next to the computer.
I totally
It's-
forgot about it.
I saw an article that came out about the Pixel tablet saying that it was like Google's biggest mistake this year was the Pixel tablet. I love my Pixel tablet. I think it's great. I think
It didn't get badly reviewed. People liked
Yeah,
it. It's
yeah.
just that it's
just
you
tablets
know.
as a form factor. That's the issue. Yeah.
So, speaking of the Pixel tablet and stylus, one of the other features that I think maybe the reason why Google hasn't released a stylus accessory for it is that there wasn't really a robust note-taking support within the Google Keep app, and it looks like that's one of the things they look to be adding in a future release. So, recent versions of the Google Keep app reveal that they're preparing to make it settable as a default Notes app so that you can launch it from the lock screen shortcut. And in addition, you'll be able to quickly open it in a floating bubble and even insert screenshots of the current window so you can quickly jot on top of whatever you're looking at. You can just tap a button on your stylus to quickly launch the default Notes app. And it looks like the kind of feature that you can already have if you have like an S Pen Pro and Samsung.
Thank you,
tablet
Mishaal. I was
or a
waiting for
Samsung-
you to say if you already have a Samsung device.
Yes.
You've already had these exact same features for like years.
Right. And Google looks to be finally bringing this to Google Keep and hopefully to the Pixel tablet if they release a stylus accessory.
Wow.
And speaking of things Google looks to be finally bringing to apps, Google Photos looks to be finally adding support for being set as a cloud content provider for the Android photo picker. So back in 2020, when Google released Android 13, one of the features they introduced was the photo picker. And not a lot of apps use it, so you may not even be familiar with what it looks like. But one of the things they promised was integration with cloud media providers like Google Photos. Well, lo and behold, finally Google Photos looks to be adding support for that. So soon in apps that use the photo picker, once this rolls out, you'll be able to select photos and videos that you have backed up and stored in Google Photos instead of just whatever files that you have stored on your phone locally.
It's so annoying when I'm trying to do one of those like those Instagram posts where it's like post a photo of you from whatever and you want to like yeah, I know. But so I want to go look for a photo, but I have to actually go download it from the cloud, get it on my device before Instagram will pick up that it's like available.
total
So
pain.
For people
That'll
that
be
follow me on
nice.
Instagram, yeah, I ran on a nightmare rant because basically Instagram is basically refusing to use a photo picker because they want to do their own custom like photo media picker.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that's what it is.
That's
So
upsetting.
before, as Mishaal mentioned in his article, kind of like there's a way to always get to cloud. There's always like a file picker, which you can have always used traditionally to kind of as a backup. So you can get to Dropbox, anything that's like a document provider, which is basically a NAP's way of saying, hey, here, have my shit. Wait, is that too many? Sorry. Anyway, but so the problem is a lot of apps like Instagram, they have this, there's a feeling that, you want to have your own media picker for whatever reason. My team at Adobe did it. No comment there. And Instagram recently did it. And that's like the problem is that a lot of times when you're rolling your own media picker, like by hand, it's easiest to not support cloud document providers. So yes, that's why Instagram freaking sucks and I hate it so much. Instagram,
You're right. Okay, so that dialogue that's a good thing to know for users is that you're right.
Yes.
That's not going to change.
That's
They
not gonna
always
change.
default you to whatever is like most recent in your camera roll, and they make it really hard for you to go in your Android folders, which is like
It used to be better. It wasn't great,
It
but it used
did.
to be better, and they made it worse because they wanted to make a tighter UI, and they made the experience suckier. Don't do that, devs. Use the damn photo picker for Android's sake.
Wow. Wow, Win got real. This is like I'm not even a developer and I'm scared.
Yeah, I'm scared too.
Real dumb, you guys. Sorry, I don't have. I'm out of intellectual justifications. Use the damn photo picker.
No, that was
Support
good.
Cloud.
That was really good background to like.
No,
I
yeah,
wouldn't have
it-
known that as a user. That's
Yeah.
To be fair, it's hard, but I understand not supporting cloud photos, cloud documents, whatever.
especially in this
not.
day and yeah,
Especially
in this day and
Instagram.
age, they make us pay for everything.
Exactly.
Support
All right,
cloud
well,
photos.
talk about in this day and age and paying for everything and the idea of premium. One, as we're talking about tablets, moving forward, premium, quote unquote, premium Android tablets will now get a premium Chrome experience by default. So if you consider the desktop experience premium, that is, Google says a premium tablet has 8 gig of RAM or more, a 10-inch display, and a 10-inch or higher display. And Google reminds folks that, quote, desktop Chrome and Chrome on Android don't share all of the exact same web platform APIs, so there could be some irregularities. So if you fall in this kind of thing and you think you're going to have a one-to-one relationship between your desktop Chrome and your premium tablet Chrome, you're still not going to. So
That's good to know for apps like Reddit, by the way, which I've noticed are a lot less friendly if you're trying to do the mobile version because they want you to go download the app and do, get the ad served. So I've been flipping into desktop mode on the Z Fold when I open it up to read Reddit. And it gives me all the features that are a part of the Reddit experience, but I can kind of feel it. It makes things choppy. It feels
Less
choppy.
friendly is an understatement. They are obnoxious about trying to get you to use the app.
I really don't want to. I just want to read my housewives gossip.
Don't we all?
well, speaking of housewives gossip, right, Jason?
Yeah, speaking of housewife gossip, Google moving more of its stuff onto the device, including location history, right? There's obviously a correlation
Moving into their
between those two
mansions.
things. And Google's been doing this in a lot of different ways. I think we've been hearing this a lot, when it comes to AI processing. Don't not doing it in the cloud, moving it onto the device, always with kind of security and privacy in mind. In this case, this is so Google's location history. So if you go into your Maps app and you take a look at the whatever is the timeline feature, that if you have that activated, it tracks kind of like all of your location moves over a certain amount of time, day by day by day. Total like honeypot or like gold mine, that's the word, for law enforcement. If they want to pull that data, that can really be incredibly valuable to them. Google is continually, as are other big tech companies, continually in a space where they want to kind of absolve themselves from the responsibility of sharing anything like this. That's why, partially why the move to end-to-end encryption. And then, of course, in this case, keeping things on the device. So that timeline feature, that really kind of desirable set of data for users to law enforcement. Moving on to device eventually. It hasn't happened quite yet, but it's going to happen in the next year. Do you have it set already?
Yeah, I have it set already. So I just wanted to show that actually the way that you get to this, and I can't scroll because it'll show you my address. The way that you get to this is you tap on your blue dot on the Google Maps app, and it will bring up this screen, and then you're going to keep scrolling, like pull it up, and then you will see here in the settings whether your device location is on or your location history is on. Whether auto delete is off, blah, blah, blah. And then you tap on that and it takes you to the actual settings panel. So this was just a much easier way than having to tap into like the Google account under the little cog icon. And then you would have to like tap into the right tab. So it's all trying to be transparent.
The one question here is, if you're moving this stuff onto device, how do you have that information on another device? So you get a new phone and you want to move it over, and Google has said that they're going to make it so that you can actually move that data.
Samsung does that with Smart Switch now. So because a lot of their data now is encrypted on device, so they want you to feel that way by physically moving data from one phone to another. And so I imagine that's coming. I do wonder if this is all just like for show, just to make us feel like our data is safe.
Just to make us feel. Period.
I think it marginally improves the privacy around this. Are you wondering if Google still has access to that, even though it's on?
I mean, they say they don't.
Yeah.
I
would guess that they
Well,
wouldn't.
If you go back to the Verge article, it says like one of the underlying reasons for this change is that whenever like there's some incident that happens in a particular area, like law enforcement can subpoena and get like the location data of anyone who is in an area, and you're potentially a suspect in some case, right? But now, if all the data is stored locally and encrypted, then they can't really get any of that data anymore. Like Google can't hand
as long as you delete it.
Yeah.
Because then they could subpoena your phone, just for anybody out there who's trying to evade.
All right, let's not go too far.
This is not legal advice, by the way. That was just me making a joke.
All right, well, that's a great note to stop down on. This show has been wild, but before we wrap up and say goodbye for the year to Flo, we got a couple more emails. So Mishaal, I think you got the first one.
I do, and this one comes in from Scott, who says, "Hey, AF fam, so glad you guys continue the show after AAA ended. Even better now that Jason is officially official. I recently did the podcast migration from Google Podcasts to YouTube Music and was left thoroughly disappointed. It is so bare bones, it reminds me of the YouTube Music / Google Play Music migration days. I love watching some podcasts and listening to others, so I feel like podcasting in general is in the worst place it's ever been, having to use multiple apps to watch some shows and another app to listen to another show. With that being said, can you please upload your video show to Pocket Casts? Love the show, Scott."
All right, well, a lot to unpack here. There was a lot going on with Google Podcast this week, right? Wasn't there the migration tool launched now, so you can start migrating your Google Podcast into YouTube Music? So we saw some people talking about that. Did anyone do it? Is anyone using it? I don't know. I'm not using it. I'm not. Yeah. So, because really, at the end of the day, Scott has the right answer, which is podcasting is not in a bad spot in Android. Just use Pocket Casts. I think that's the best solution, right? That's our best one.
And it's cross-platform.
But we have gotten people asking about the video version and RSS feed. So I wanted to address that. Clearly, we're not as big of an operation as the folks at Twitter or whatever. So our video exists on YouTube on the DTNS channel. There is a way to get that as an RSS feed and manually add that to Pocket Cast. So we're going to add that to our website so that everybody can do that. And that way you'll have the video feed in if that's your preferred method of viewing. And we'll continue to look for ways to make it, make it easy for you to watch or listen or watch the show as much as you want. That's our goal, is to give it the way you want it. So that looks like the RSS feed of the playlist from YouTube will be the way to go for that. And you can just plug that into Pocket Cast. So we'll do a post on, where will we do a post? We'll do a post on Patreon, a public post. So you don't need to be a member to find it. So anybody who goes to our Patreon will be able to see it. I'll do that tonight and we'll get that set up and we'll put it on the website as well. So. All right. I like promising things before I do them, so now I have to do them.
Accountability is super important, especially being accountable to our fans.
And honestly, and Scott, if you can't find it or don't get it, just email us again, and I'll email you and I'll tell you where to get it. So, and that goes for anybody listening. If you have any questions about where to find us or how to, just email contact@androidfaithful.com, and we will personally respond to whatever questions you have about Android Faithful. I can't answer any questions you have about your taxes or just your relationships or anything like that.
Tips
I can answer the relationship
we'll
ones.
We'll forward the relationship questions to Flo. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But Android Faithful specific ones, we'll do that. So, all right. We got one more email.
Yeah, and this is our last email of the year and a very special one from Bob. Hey, sorry, Bob. Hey, AFM. I've been a long-time listener of the podcast since 2016. I've always wanted to write in, but never got around to it. This time, I couldn't hold back, though. I just wanted to say I'm almost 40, but you guys nearly brought a tear to my eye in this episode with surprise union with Jason. I know you guys feel it too, but as a listener, there's just a magic created when you guys are all together. It's really special, and there's no podcast, regardless of genre, that's quite like it. Ron.
Boom. You know
Ron,
what? We are awesome, y'all.
we are awesome. We are Legion. That's not right. Yes, we are. Ron, Huyen, Mishaal, and now Jason. What a powerhouse! Hope to see more of Florence as time goes on too. Happy holidays, Bob. You got your wish, at least for today. Thank you for everything you do. It feels like a family, hosts and listeners included. P.S. Ron, I'm a big YouTube music fan. I'm going to have to write in full my thoughts on it someday. I don't think I'll ever sway you away, though. Winking, sticking out tongue face emoji. Take care, Bob.
Thank you, Bob.
Yeah, I
that's
think
really
I think
nice.
we're ending on a make us get teary eyed, Bob. Way to go! Thank you. But no, I won't. No, the irony about YouTube Music is that it's my default music app. That's what I use to listen to music. So it's like, as much as my griping about YouTube Music, I am using it every day, so that my kids.
That's why you care so much. About
Yeah,
it.
exactly.
'Cause you're close to it.
But yeah, what a great way to end the year. What you guys think? Isn't that nice?
Lovely. Thank you, Bob.
Indeed.
And I
2024 is
believe-
going to be awesome, y'all.
And I believe Bob, who wrote that email in, was watching live tonight. Or no, he was Bob from Pennsylvania was watching.
Oh,
live.
it's Bob.
There,
No,
yeah.
right.
Yeah, so lots of Bobs watching. So,
Hey, Bobs.
cool. All right, so that's gonna wrap us up, right?
I think so.
Yeah.
That's
Flo,
it.
not to put you on the spot, but since you're not going to be on our year-end show, if you had to pick one thing from Android in 2023 that's your favorite thing, what would it be?
Nearby share.
We should have seen that coming.
You already asked me about this for Thanksgiving.
I
Why
did.
would you think this would change?
Well, I mean, Nearby Share launched on Windows out of beta this year, right? So you do have a legit
when
claim
that
there.
happened, Mishaal, my life changed. The gates to heaven opened officially. So,
All right.
Without flinching. Excellent. Well, do you want to wrap it, or you
go for it, Jason. You're
Okay,
back.
I felt like someone needed to step ahead. Flo, thank you so much for coming on tonight. I know that you're writing amazing things for Gizmodo, gizmodo.com, and
you.
you're podcasting amazing things with Andy and Akko on
I am.
Material.
I am. Please tune in. We've got 2 more episodes of the year left for us as well. So please, if you're interested, we talk about some of the same things.
Yeah.
And Andy's great.
Episode
And you can get
442. Wow.
Yeah,
Dang.
It's a good run. You can get that at relay.fm/material.
/material.
Yeah, definitely go. It's great. It's good stuff.
By the way, I'm very happy that Jason is here because now when I come on, I'm literally just coming on to hang out with my friends. Not
Yay.
that I mean, I loved hanging out with you guys last time, but this just completes.
If anything, this last week has just proven how much of our magic is Jason magic, and that's okay.
Yes,
we love and accept.
Exactly.
Oh, oh no, did I make the magic go away?
It's getting awkward.
Well, since we're in the plug space, we should let everyone know that Jason and I are going to be live streaming the New Year's Eve Streamathon this year on December 31st. And thank you to Willie in the chat for reminding me to talk about that. So on December 31st at 1:35 Eastern, you can tune in at dcstreamathon.org. And you can check us out on the Diamond Club stream action that's going on, and maybe we'll see if we can get some other special guests to come on too, Jason. We haven't discussed anything about that yet. So.
We haven't even talked about what it could be. Last time we did it was a couple of years ago, and we talked a little bit about Android, of course, and then just talked about other random stuff. I mean, heck yeah. Let's talk about this off stream and
that's
You
we'll
guys-
join. Let's make
That's
it
a good
happen.
reminder because I haven't told my wife yet. So
Well, we should invite her. She could be a guest. The
she-
wives could also join.
I was gonna say you guys are Andy Cohen and Anderson Cooper, the not gay versions.
But still very drunk. Right? Wasn't didn't one of them get totally wasted on CNN or something like that?
Yes.
Okay. Maybe both of them did. I have no idea. As for me, raygun.fun is a little easy place to go. It rhymes and it has all my things. And I did include Android Faithful there, like I said I was going to, Ron. So I did my homework. I did some of my homework there. It's on the screen. So there you go. Raygun.fun. Mishaal, what do you want to leave people with?
As always, you can find me everywhere. I am on Twix, Mastodon, Threads, Discord, Telegram, Reddit, everywhere at Mishaal Rahman. I'm also on Patreon if you want to support my work. Join the Discord to chat a lot about Android, Google stuff, and check out my articles, Android Authority, Android Central, a lot of different places. You can find me if you want to find out what's happening, what's coming next in Android.
Mishaal,
Before Android even knows it, Mishaal knows it.
Yeah. Mishaal, in 2024, I want you to branch out to Weibo, okay?
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Wait, I have a WeChat already. It's just like I sometimes rarely get like DMs from product managers and like stuff from like Chinese companies
and you can't read it.
Michelle, it's just a language pack. Just install the language pack.
Google Translate.
All those ways to follow Mishaal. Now you know. Win, what about you?
Hey, I'm an Android developer. I'm actually going to be doing some Android development soon, so maybe there's going to be some new content on my website, content on my website. But regardless, you can find stuff that I have done in the past. My talks on Android development, associated code and video at my website, randomlytyping.com. And you can find me, generally speaking, on the social places at Queen Code Monkey. But if you really want to find me, let's be real, as much as I complain about the app, Instagram. So if you really want to see what I'm doing, mostly it's working out and then Android stuff, workout, then Android, and then workout on Android, and some Baldur's Gate 3 recently. That's where I am, Queen Code Monkey. So there you go.
Queen Code Monkey, thank you. And finally, Ron.
Yes, well, I do love me an end of the year podcast. So you head over to ifanboy.com where me and Josh and Connor wrapped up 2013 in all media. So it's a 3-hour podcast where we talk about our favorite movies, TV shows, music, podcasts, books, and comic books on the year. And I even gave a little plug for Android Faithful on the show there, so you can hear me talk about Android Faithful, the guys who don't understand Android. But yeah, lots of good conversation about Killers of the Flower Moon and Oppenheimer and The Bear,
Barbie,
and The Gold, which is a great show on Paramount Plus, which everyone should check out. And yeah, good times. Talk about music, talk about hardcore. It was fun. So go to ifanboy.com to do that, ifanboy.com. And of course, follow me. I'm at RonXO across all the various platforms and stuff. So
okay, we didn't really talk about this. Do I read all these things?
No, we don't. You
okay.
riff on what you like, really.
Okay.
This is where we just now plug the show. So
okay, yeah. Well, you can subscribe in all the obvious ways that you normally subscribe to podcasts. Just search for Android Faithful or go to androidfaithful.com and find all the information there, including all of our episodes. If you want to listen, you can just drop right in. We do have a Patreon that you can support us at, and if you do that, then you get to vote on some stories. You get exclusive content, like the exclusive episode we're going to have in for patrons next week, looking at the year in review. That's patreon.com/AndroidFaithful, and you're supporting us directly when you do that. So we really thank you for all of that. Contact at AndroidFaithful.com if you want to contact us. We do this every Tuesday evening, so subscribe. Let us know what you think, and yeah. It's a great time, y'all. We'll see you next time on Android Faithful.